Lucas, your first time on Austin City Limits. Tell us what it was like.
It was magic. It was just magic. You know, I was afraid I didn't know if anybody'd show up. But then I found out they do a raffle and they don't even sell tickets, so I felt better about that. But I'm glad that in my hometown, people come out and see me. It's nice. It's nice to know.
So the name, Promise of the Real. Tell
hmm
us the story behind that. Where does that come from?
So my drummer Anthony, who you saw earlier, and I met well, I don't know when this is going to air, but either before or after. But however it works out, our drummer Anthony and I met at a Neil Young concert in L.A. after I'd just dropped out of college, and I was kind of living in my car and on this road, and I cut myself off from the family just to go on my own sort of inner journey to know that I could be okay on my own and that I wouldn't have to depend on anybody. If worse comes to worse, my humanity would be solid, and I knew that as a human being I could survive, which is important. It gives me a deeper sense of meaning, and so I went on a little journey. And Anthony Logerfo and I met at a Neil Young concert, and we just bonded over our love for Neil. And one of the songs that we listened to a lot was from a record called "On the Beach," and we were on the beach a lot. We were in California, and I was surfing, and I actually got stung by a stingray the first night Anthony and I met. Uh, it was the middle of the night. We were surfing in the middle of the night with a bunch of his buddies, and the first step in the water was a stingray. It whipped around, stung me in the ankle. It's just, it was cosmic. And then after that, we were kind of inseparable. We'd play all the time together. And there's a line in the song "Walk On" from "On the Beach," which is a Neil Young record, and a Neil Young song called "Walk On," and it goes, "Sooner or later, it all gets real." And I felt so connected to just that statement and what I felt like Neil's interpretation of real was, which it had a lot to do with integrity, I think. And so, I felt connected to that notion. It seemed like my dad um, was an example of that, and as well, just being who you are, despite all the pressures of the business or society to make you into something. I don't sing traditional country music, nor do I sing rock and roll. I do what I do, and I sing a rock and roll. It's a mesh of all of it that I love. Soul and rock and reggae and blues, and all of it is put together in the music that I do. And I don't try and I'm lucky in that I've got such a versatile band that I can do all of it, and it can still sound like me with my voice and my guitar on it.
People love to put labels on music and compare one song to another song or one artist to another artist. But
Yeah.
I think you've said probably many times that as far as you're concerned, it's all just rock and roll.
It is kind of all rock and roll, and even what Dad was doing back in the '60s, in the '70s too. When he was, I mean, if you look at footage of the old ACL, one of the first, it was 1977, so maybe it was one of the later ones he did. But back in the day with B. Spears and the double drums, there's a version of "Bloody Mary Morning" that's as rocking as anything Leon Russell had ever done, or the Allman Brothers, and it really gets in there, and it gets deep, and there's soul, and I don't think the Allman Brothers wanted to be called Southern rock. I think they were rock and roll just as much as anything, a blues band or whatever. It's hard to call anybody anything when you got so many influences that you listen to, and most of the time it's blues and country and that mix. And then I love like Otis Redding and that soul stuff. I really, Etta James and so that really try and bring that into it, and Bob Dylan and Neil Young and the Beatles and whatever. I had a dream when I was like 6 years old, and it was a very vivid sort of dream, and I was on stage in front of what seemed like millions of people, and I was a child still, but some voice told me, because I was terrified, a voice told me to shrink all of my awareness. Like, instead of looking out at the audience through my eyes, look out through my chest or my heart. And so I would shrink my whole spirit down into the center of my chest. And then I began to look out from there, and I felt safe there, and I could sing from that place. And after I woke up from that dream, I was never afraid to be on stage, and I knew exactly what I wanted to do because the crowd had. I started to sing, and the crowd went wild, and it was like I just had a vision. I knew what I wanted to do, and it was to go out there and sing, and I just followed that sort of inner voice telling me where to go since then. Well, I just wrote a song called "Turn Off the News and Build a Garden." So, I feel like I'm getting a little bit inundated with, the blue team and the red team and Fox and CNN and all this stuff that, I just want to know. I think that it's important to focus on our communities, local communities, to try and grow our own local food, to try and be kind to the people that are in our vicinity around us and start there. They say world peace starts at home. And when we're worrying about something completely, all we can do is vote, and we can be a part of our communities. We can go out and if there's something that is happening in your community on the local level, you can make sure that that gets taken care of because you have power to do that because you're it's your neighborhood and you have a voice there, and we have a voice in that area, and our states and our local governments, are what that's if we can just work on focusing what's around us and the people that are around us. I think that that's a better strategy towards changing the world. And I think that, imagine if you had television feed, right, from the galaxy, not just the world, the galaxy, right? And you got all these channels from different planets and different star systems and Federation, like if it was Star Trek, right? It's probably like that. We have no idea what's going on out there, and we might crap our pants if we knew. You know what I mean? Like, imagine if we had to watch the news of not just the world, but our entire our entire galaxy, the quadrant, right? We'd probably be. How would we'd be overwhelmed, And I just think that we can change the world, but it starts at home. It starts with the people around you. It starts with spreading joy, And I think that, so I wrote that song, and that's important to me, and that's part of what the times are, And I think that right now we also have to get back into our heart space right now. We're so caught up with the news and the media and everything that and what the news tells us is the right thing to do, whether it's Fox or CNN or MSNBC or anyone, they sort of influence your decisions instead of and then they get people calloused and they get people mistrustful of other people. But when you walk outside and you actually hang out with the people that are in your neighborhood, what color they are doesn't matter, what doesn't matter, and most people love each other. When I walk around in a day-to-day life and we're interacting, it's like, the world is fine, save a few, bad seeds. But then when you watch the news, it's always like everybody's against each other and it's the end of the world. And it's overwhelming, and it can get you so paralyzed with fear that you aren't actually able to function or provide any joy of your own to the people nearby.
Yeah, and it can infect your own personal life, your family's.
It can.
It can really.
It's
like a poison.
It can be a poison to know. It's almost like that sort of tree of knowledge sort of parable where sometimes intellectualism or just knowing so much is not always the answer. You have to have wisdom with the intellect to really, and the combined power of wisdom and intellect is when we actually grow as a people and a culture and mature to the point where maybe we deserve to reach the stars and start exploring new galaxies and contacting other beings and being part of a much larger community. But right now, I don't even think we know how to hang out or get along with each other, so why would we look to the stars, And, you guys got guys like Elon Musk that are trying to send us to Mars, and, man, we haven't even got Earth together yet. Let's not mess up another planet, Maybe we don't deserve to go there until we can figure this out, and I believe that it starts at home,
Who kind of inspires your guitar work?
Well, Dad was the first one to get me, he was teaching me these chords for Blue Eyes Crying in the Rain back in, I was like, 9 or 10. And I said, "What do you want for your birthday?" And he could just randomly. And after the lesson, he said he wanted me to learn how to play guitar. And I realized at that moment that that would be a way that I could be close to him, as if I could really get good at the guitar and get good at music, and I could then, because he left all the time. He leaves, and I was okay with that at that point because it was just normal. But I did miss him, and I wanted to find a way that we could all be together for our whole lives and really. And so the reason I started playing was so I could make him proud, and thankfully I think he is. And my brother's the same thing. We have a good family, pretty tight knit. My mom too, we all love each other, and my sisters and everybody, It's the Nelson family's pretty good,
How were you so lucky, or was it a random thing, to meet up with Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga and become an important part of the movie A Star Is Born?
Sure. Billy Gerber was a producer on the film, called my mother and said that Bradley Cooper had been at Desert Trip, which was the show we did with Neil Young. We're Neil Young's band, so we back him. And when he played at Desert Trip, which was a fantastic show with Bob Dylan and the Rolling Stones, and Paul McCartney was on the day we played, and The Who, Roger Waters, and I don't think I'm missing anybody there, but it was like one of the highlights of my life. And Bradley Cooper's a big Neil Young fan, so he came and he saw me playing with Neil. And apparently he was just getting started in the idea to do the Star Is Born remake, and he wanted to get somebody to sort of show him how to really present himself as a rock and roll or a country or whatever musician up on stage and have it be authentic. So he called me in, and I started working with him, singing. I sounded great already. He was already a great musician, and but there are a few notes that we worked with, and then I met Lady Gaga, Stephanie, at the same time, and we started writing a lot together for the film, and ended up getting the band in the movie too, and then we played all the music, and I wrote about 8 songs for it. So it just started. We just all kind of saw eye to eye as people, and I think creatively, and the project moved forward in an organic way that was really special. And Sam Elliott's part of that movie. I mean, it's going to be really good. I think Sean Penn said he saw it. I haven't even seen the final edit of it, but I hear it's really great.